Hi, I'm Lindsay from Lindsay's Dog Training, and today I'm going to go over the basics of dog training. And we're going to start from square one with Zeke, who is a 2.5-year-old Doberman who I have neglected on training, so he basically knows nothing. So the first rule that I want you guys to know about is the most important rule. If you're going to teach your dog a command, you first need to know that you should never repeat a command. If you repeat commands, whether it be sit or down or come or whatever, if you say them over and over again, your dog basically learns that they don't have to listen to you the first time that you say it. So it becomes a choice rather than a command. So saying sit, 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 sit is not the appropriate way to get your dog to sit or do any other command. You need to say the command one time and then make it happen and then make it rewarding. So the making it happen part is typically luring them with a treat or tricking them to do it some way. And it's like, I'll show you sit, for example. Come here. If you want them to sit, which we're not technically doing this lesson, you guide the treat up over their head. So that's the making it happen part. So it's not actually physically putting them into place, it's tricking them into doing it themselves so that they can learn it faster. And rewarding them, treats are the fastest way to get a dog to listen. But praise is also super important, and you cannot leave that out, even if you are doing treats. You don't want to do treats forever, and you also want to be able to speed up the process so they know exactly what they're getting the treat for. So if you ask them to do something like sit, good. As soon as their butt hits the floor, or as soon as they complete the behavior that you ask them to do, then you praise them verbally. You can use good, good boy, good job, excellent, perfect, yes, whatever word you want to use. Some trainers say to use the same word every time. I typically use good. Some trainers prefer the word yes. It really doesn't matter. Sit. Good. As long as you're consistent and your tone, basically. So they can tell off your tone if it's a rewarding tone or if it's not. So you kind of need to just lighten it a little bit. You don't have to after you've used the word several times, but they'll get the idea with the treats anyway. So you don't need to give a big giant biscuit for asking them to sit, or a big giant treat, even if it's just a soft treat. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but this is too big. So I break this into pieces like that. So teeny, teeny, tiny, smaller than your fingernail, as small as you can break it within reason. And again, they don't care. If it tastes like a treat, they don't care how small it is. So you're able to get them to swallow it faster so you can move on to the next command. And also you're keeping the intake of the treats down as well. If you give them big treats, you also run into, first of all, it takes like a solid 30 seconds to chew and swallow. And then they're full and you can't really get as far with the training. The higher the value the treat, the better also. So some people, and with some commands, I do recommend raising the value of the treat. So if you have a treat that they like and they will work for it, that's great. But if you have a higher value treat that they'll work harder for, that they really love, you can use that for the better behaviors or the commands that you're having more trouble with so that they want to do it better. Your dog can tell the difference between different types of treats if they, if you're using like canned chicken or cut up boiled chicken or something, they're obviously going to prefer that over a dog biscuit. But just anything that they're willing to work for, it really doesn't matter. But the soft treats are typically more high value than a dry treat, but it does depend on your dog. Some people actually use their own dog kibble for training, and that's fine to do too. You just have to keep in mind, as the difficulty increases, you typically can't get away with just using kibble for like an outdoor off-leash training session. They're just not gonna take to that very well. So increase the value of the treat with the difficulty of the command as well. Doing the sit command, for example, saying it once, if you don't have any control, is just as pointless as saying it 15 times. If you know that your dog's going to stay near you, you can work with them off leash. If they're not going to stay near you and they're going to wander off, or you're outside in a yard and they're off leash, you're probably not going to have a high success rate. So you have to start out easy when you're training also. So we're going to start out indoors only on a leash. That way I have control. And I'm obviously going to have treats. He's going to know that. But it does progress as you move forward. So you just have to take your time with it and make sure that they understand the command. Like I said, having them on leash is super important. If you don't have them on leash and they're wandering off, don't keep pushing the commands if they're struggling with it. So if you continue to try to get them to do something and it's not working, something is wrong. It's either what you're doing, their mindset, you know, something is off, the treat isn't good enough, you're in the wrong environment, but something is wrong if you cannot get them to do it and you're doing it the correct way. The making it happen part, I did mention it was tricking them into doing it. So if you're trying to force your dog into doing something, like physically push them into place, that doesn't work typically either, because dogs are resistance animals. They push and pull against. So if you're pushing, their tendency is to push back. So if I was going to try to push him down, he's like, what are you doing to me? But I can just guide him down, and it's so much simpler. So stay with me, and we're going to start from the top with Zeke. Even though he knows a few of the simple commands, I'm going to show you how to progress on them. And also we're going to get really, really into training for his benefit and you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.